like we always do at this time. I got to shine, to shine, to shine, to shine.
Hi, we're here from Cal State East Bay with a grad class. We're here to present the do's and don'ts of exercise related to spine health and proper body mechanics.
When it comes to neutral spine, it's very important to keep in mind that you have to keep a neutral spine whatever you're doing. Whether you're sitting at home, in a classroom, or watching a 2-3 hour movie, or you're working out at a gym, you have to keep your spine in neutral position. When we're talking about curvatures of the spine, there are 4 curvatures in the spine, 2 lordotic curvatures in the cervical region and lumbar region, and 2 kyphotic curvatures in the thoracic and sacral region.
Here we have Anna standing in a neutral spine posture. We have a plumb line drawn, and Anna is standing behind the plumb line. You can see the bony landmarks where the blue pieces of tape are at. We have one, if you look at the hip, we have one on her greater trochanter and one on her ASIS in the front, and then we have another piece of tape on her acromion at the shoulder. So a neutral spine posture generally, when you stand next to the plumb line and you can look at the acromion relative to the greater trochanter relative to the ASIS, the acromion and the greater trochanter markers should theoretically be in alignment. And so you can see her spine is in what we would consider neutral. Now in this picture, you can now, if you draw your attention to the marker at the greater trochanter, you see now the marker is posterior or behind the plumb line, yet the acromion is still in line with the plumb line, and the ASIS is still anterior or in front of the plumb line. So that can show you that now she has a little bit of lumbar extension, and which could be anatomical hip flexion as well. And you can see that this would then be a arched back posture, which is now an extended back or anterior tilted pelvis. So that's no longer neutral spine. Now this last example here, we would consider a flat back or kyphotic posture. She's definitely exaggerating the kyphosis there, but you can see that the greater trochanter marker is right in line with the plumb line. The ASIS marker now is moved quite posteriorly compared to the neutral spine posture, although it's not in line or behind the plumb line. It's still, you can tell it's moved quite a bit, and now the marker at the acromion is now anterior or in front of the plumb line. So those are kind of the markers that can tell you what kind of posture your participant is presenting with.
Bracing is a technique that activates the abdominal wall to maintain neutral spine during motion. This includes the transverse abdominis, rectus abdominis, and internal and external oblique. Rachel's here. She's standing in neutral spine. And to brace, she's going to tighten her abdominal muscles as if someone was going in to punch her in the stomach. This creates a super stiffness that reduces the risk of injury and improves athletic performance.
This is Yasin. He's going to be our demo here. So we're going to give you a couple of tips as to common exercises that you see that should not be performed. So Yasin's going to do the classic Superman exercise. You might be familiar with this one. So let's go ahead, show him that one, Yasin. So this is one where basically you're trying to work your erector spinalis group, right, by extending both the arms and the legs off the ground, and then go ahead, relax. And although you do work these muscles quite a bit, research has found that you put quite a bit of compressive loads on the spine. So they found up to 6,000 newtons of compression on the spine while doing this. And they found that you really only want to have no more than 3,500 newtons. So that's why we have to find exercises that don't put so much compression. This is Bryson. We're going to show you another kind of common exercise you see that a lot of advanced fitness enthusiasts do, but it can, again, create a lot of compression on the spine. Might not be your best choice of exercise. So this is the V-up. Go ahead, Bryson. Give it a shot. Yeah, you can do opposite leg, opposite arm V-ups you see a lot of people doing, which is actually probably even worse because now you've got the rotary component. You're twisting the spine, which we know is even worse. And then there's the common two-arm, two-legged V-up. It's a tough exercise. Works the muscles quite a bit. Relax. So yeah, Bryson just showed you those V-ups. Again, a kind of common exercise you see a lot of people doing. And although it works your abs quite well, it puts a lot of compression on the spine. So it's a pretty high risk exercise. We're going to show you another very common exercise that you might see in the gym. It's the ball crunch. So go ahead, Yasin, show them the ball crunch. So you crunch up, and kind of the theory of this is that you allow the ball to kind of mold to your spine. You see a lot of people doing it, but the problem with this is again, you're taking the spine through a range of motion, which it's for the lumbar spine, and at least is not really geared for that. And then the second thing is too, which will show you the McGill crunch, these abdominal muscles are really meant for short range movements. So meaning maybe isometrics or very small range kind of pulses. So doing this kind of really large range of motion is not as beneficial as you might think. And this is, if you are going to do this, moving through a much smaller range, for one thing is good, and two, you already want to have requisite strength from doing crunches on the ground, specifically the McGill crunch. We're going to show you another couple common exercises that you might not want to do, and a good alternative. So Yasin's going to show you the common crunch or curl up. Go ahead, Yasin, give it a shot. Good, relax. So again, this is a common exercise. Problem though, he's not maintaining neutral spine, right? It's almost impossible with the knees flexed and hips flexed in this position to maintain a neutral spine. So what we want to do the McGill crunch. That's a good alternative. Still records quite a bit of activity in the abs, yet maintains neutral spine. So Yasin's familiar with that. Go ahead, Yasin. Put that leg down. What Yasin's going to do, he's going to put his hands underneath his lower back, okay? So that acts as like a mechanical brace to kind of buttress his back, so that way he maintains neutral spine. Now go ahead, Yasin, you know this exercise. Curl up. So this is called the McGill curl up, McGill crunch. Now I want you to curl up and I want you to hold that for 10 seconds. Hold it. There you go. So again, we're working the abs kind of like they should be worked in an isometric fashion. So a good cue for this one is imagine that, go ahead, relax. Imagine that your head and your upper shoulders are on a scale, and all you want to do is you want to unweight the scale. So go ahead, bring the head and shoulders up, hold that for a count of 10, tightening the abs while maintaining the neutral spine. And you can practice this, 10-second holds, 10 reps, see how you feel.
So here's Anna. She's going to perform the cat and camel exercise. The cat and camel is an active flexibility motion that is performed on all fours. This is a great starting point for exercise and puts a very small load on the spine. Flex and extend the entire spine to the cat position, and then now into the camel position. And look in between your knees. And you're going to avoid any range of pain. And the ideal repetitions is about 6 to 10 cycles.
Hi, I'm Phil, and this is Christian, and today we're going to go over the stir the pot exercise. So basically, stir the pot is kind of an advanced plank utilizing a stability ball. So I'd suggest that you have some core stability before you venture on to doing this exercise. So Christian, you're familiar with the stir the pot, so let's get into that position. So you want to be in a plank position on the forearms on the ball. So what he's going to do is he's going to get into a basic plank posture on the ball. You can spread your feet out a little bit, Christian, get in a wider base of support. I want you to lower your hips down a little bit. So kind of key thing to focus here is you do want to maintain a neutral spine. So if you look at his back, it's not completely flat, and it's not he's not arching. So now this is a decent exercise so far, but to make it a little bit more athletic, what he's going to do is he's going to get a little bit of motion in his limbs here. So he's going to go ahead and stir the pot. So he's going to stir it counterclockwise right now. You can do about 5 to 10 like that, Christian. And now reverse it. And do about 5 to 10. If you can build up to doing a minute on that, 30 seconds in each direction, that's pretty good. So let's stir the pot for you. Phil and Christian again. So we showed you the stir the pot exercise, Stu McGill's classic athletic plank, but now we're going to show you a couple ways to regress that if that's a little bit too difficult, too challenging. So Christian's familiar with the basic front plank, so let's go ahead, let's get in that position. So main key points on this one, again, is always kind of our mantra is to maintain neutral spine, right? So you don't want to completely flatten the lower back, and you don't want to be in hyperextension, okay? So you can have a fairly wide base of support with the feet. Main thing to make sure is always the elbows are directly underneath the shoulders, so you have a strong base of support. Okay, and his cervical spine is in a neutral posture as well. So we're not flexing, we're not extending. Everything's neutral. You can hold this, see if you can work up to a minute. Okay, now let's show another regression. If that's too hard, which a lot of people that is, now we just go on to the knees. And so now this is a much easier position to work in. So regressions of the plank. Introduce another exercise here. This is called the bird dog. So again, popularized by Stu McGill. It's a great exercise for working the extensors. A lot of people try to work the extensors through maybe the Superman exercise, in which you do arms and legs both lifted off the ground. But we know that creates quite a lot of compression on the spine. So a better way to work out the erector spinalis group and all the extensor muscles is to have them do this bird dog exercise, in which we have one arm and one leg lifted on the opposite side. So go ahead, Christian, let's do it for them. There you go. So basically he's reaching out. So again, leg is extended, so if you can look at his leg, it's in a neutral position, right? So it's not down, it's not high up into extension. Foot is against a wall. I like that cue. Okay, in the arm, he's got a clenched fist, which is fine. He can also have an open hand as well. Okay, so but again, main key point is to maintain neutral spine, no shifting of the pelvis. Okay, if you're having trouble with this, you can put like a soft ball right at the low back to give them some kind of feedback as if they are tilting or what have you. And so it's a pretty good posture. You can hold it maybe 30 seconds. Now, if that becomes easy, the next challenge is to draw boxes. Let's stay in that position. Now what I want you to do, I want you to lift up, then go out, then down, and then in. Repeat that a few times. Up, out, down, in. One more time. Up, out, down, in, all while maintaining a nice stiff torso. Okay, so that's the bird dog.
Hey, I'm Rachel, and this is Jonathan, and we're going to be showing you a progression of the side bridge. So you're going to lay down. So the first progression, your knees are going to be at a 90-degree angle. So bring your feet in. With your hips. Your elbow is right beneath your shoulder to support your shoulder, and your opposite arm is going to be grasping your shoulder with your elbow against your chest. You're going to lift your hips, and you're going to hold that position. Next progression, you're going to move your free arm on top of your body, adding a little bit more load. Go ahead and lift your hips up. Good, so the next progression, you're going to straighten your knees out. Your top foot is going to go out in front, and then you're going to lift your hips up. Next progression, feet on top of each other. And up.
Hey guys, so Bryson here with Yasin. We're going to go over the suitcase carry. He is going to walk maybe 5 to 10 yards while making sure keeping that super stiffness in the abdominal wall and your internal and external obliques. So as your individual is walking, you want to make sure that they're creating super stiffness and they're not swaying side to side.